What is this? What? So let's see what he introduces us to the nature of contract and stuff. Nice. So let's check this out. As a result of increasing complexities of the business environment, innumerable contracts are entered into by the party in the usual course of carrying on their business. What is happening? There are increasing complexities. What are complexities? Complex situations. You don't know what to do in that situation, right? So due to the result of increasing complexities in the business environment, anything that is related to the business, due to the increasing of these so many complex situations, what is a basic thing? In contracts are entered into. Innumerable contracts are entered into by the parties in the usual course of business, right? Contract is the most usual method of defining the rights and duties in a business transaction. So the two things that a contract will ensure, right? So what is my right and what is my duty in this contract, and what is your right and what is your duty in the contract? So if you complete your duty, then this is a right, and if you're violating the right, then there is no duty, right? So these two are parallel to each other. Everyone, you give me your duty, then I give you your right, right? So I do my duty, you give me my right, whatever we have agreed for, right? So if we define these, like, what he said, these rights and duties parallelly in a clear cut communicative way, like this is a contract, this is your duty, you have to get this thing done, then I'll pay you this much, right? So this, my duty is to pay you, and my right is to get that thing done, and your duty is to do that thing, and your right is to get the payment, right? So anything, there is no problem on anything. We accordingly, we've trusted each other, and we've come to an agreement, and that in the eyes of law also, we've made a contract in the eyes of law, like this is an agreement that law also know, and we've done it law abiding in, right? So it's just defining my rights and duties, defining your rights and duties, what you cannot do, what you can do, what I cannot do, what I can do. What is it? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if that happens? So what are all the situations that could arise, and what do we need to do in all of these situations is what any law or any act is going to tell us. Okay, so the Contract Act will tell us all the situations, or all the duties and rights, or all the things to do and not to do involved in the business environment. Okay, and that too with respect to the contracts. Yeah. This branch of law is different from other branches of law in a very important respect. What could be other branches of law? Criminal law, right? CID or all of those goes with criminal law, right? And then there is companies law. I only know companies law, right? So all the different acts that we have, minor act, women act, men act, all the different types of acts that we have are all different laws that we have for us, right? So this branch of law is different from other branches of law in a very important respect. It does not prescribe so many rights and duties which the law will protect or enforce. Protect your rights or enforce your duty. So what is it telling? That this Contract Act, does not prescribe so many rights and duties, right? It contains a number of limiting principles subject to which parties may create rights and duties for themselves. So what is it telling? This Contract Act is not going to tell you exactly each and every step that you should be doing or that you should not be doing. Okay, as like any other law tells, like you should not kill a person. Not kill is a person that a law is telling, right? So it does not describe so many rights and duties. Like as a citizen of the country, you have a right to this, that, the education, right to food, right to hospital, right to work, right to stay anywhere, right to go outside in the countries that is recognized as an Indian citizen, that recognizes Indian people as residents and stuff, right? So these are all the rights, is what the Constitution will tell us. And what are our duties? Our duties are to pay taxes properly, right? Maintain our houses properly, what you should be doing, right? And you should not urinate outside. What you should not be doing. So every act will tell so many rights and duties. Your rights are all of these, and your duties are all of these. But and which the law will protect or enforce. That means all these rights and duties are told by law. But how is Contract Act different from the other laws, which says that it contains a number of limiting principles subject to which parties may create rights and duties for themselves. See, he's telling the what Contract Act helps you with is it will put you in a situation where you create your own rights and duties according to yourselves. Okay, it will not tell if you're in a it will tell all of the rules and regulations. Those are the limiting principles, right? Contract Act tells some principles, and if you are following these principles, then you have legally created rights and duties yourselves, right? A law need not come and tell you that you did wrong or you did right. Okay, so it will give you an option for you to create your own rights and your own duties. Got it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the Act basically identifies the ingredients of a legally enforceable valid contract. So what it is telling, what the Act identifies are nothing but the ingredients of a legally enforceable valid contract, in addition to dealing with certain types of special types of contractual relationships. Okay. So what is it basically identifying? The ingredients of a legally enforceable valid contract. When do you say a biryani is too good? A chicken biryani, assume. When do you say that biryani is wow, like this is so amazing? When do you say, Nida? When do you feel a biryani is too tasty or just too good?
When we have it and taste it.
Oh, lovely. No. Yeah, when you taste it, obviously, right? So it's about when you taste the stuff. If there is no salt, would you like the biryani as if you liked it with salt? Yes, I like it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, what were we talking about? Yeah, biryani.
Biryani taste.
Yeah, biryani and taste. Nice. Yeah, imagine your biryani does not have salt, or it does not have that biryani leaf, right? Or your chicken is not marinated enough, or your spices are not sufficient for enough. If the water is not enough, right? So ingredients of a special biryani are just that all the things that are required to be considered something as a chicken biryani, right? It has chicken. The style could be different, but are all the ingredients there or not? Enough ingredients that are required to be called it as chicken biryani are there or not? As simple as that, right? So when do you say something a chicken biryani? If it has all the necessary ingredients within it, then it is a special chicken biryani, and it is officially considered as a chicken biryani, and you can have it, right? You can't say chicken biryani and give me cow biryani or uh, mutton biryani or anything for that case. Right? So if it is chicken biryani, it is chicken biryani. Why did you say that it's chicken biryani? Based on its ingredients. So when do you say something as a proper contract? So a proper contract, a proper valid contract also has some special ingredients, right? So if all these ingredients are there, then you are considered to be inside a contract. Okay, you are when what happens when you consider in a contract is what we will learn down the lane. Okay, what happens when you are in a contract? Lovely. So yeah, this act basically identifies the ingredients of a legal enforceable valid contract. In addition to dealing with certain type of special types of contractual relationships, along with learning what are the ingredients of a legally enforceable valid contract, we shall also learn special types of relationships it seems. So one thing is indemnity. So indemnity is also a relationship between parties, but what is the objective of indemnity? Like every contract has an objective, right? The same way, what is the objective of indemnity? What is the objective of a relationship called guarantee? What is the objective of a relationship between parties called bailment? And what is the objective between parties when they're in a relationship called pledge, quasi contracts, contingent contracts? Right? So these are all the different types of relationships, or technically, these are different types of contractual relationships, right? So these are the different types of contractual relationships that you can have. Yeah, and that's what we'll learn. And all agreements are not studied in the Indian Contract Act 1872, as some of those are not contracts. Okay, only those agreements which are enforceable by law are contracts. He's saying that only those agreements which are enforceable by law are contracts. And let's see what are all those stuff. And finally, this unit refers to, first thing, the essentials of a legally enforceable valid contract or an agreement. So for you to consider something as a valid contract or a valid agreement, what are all the things or items it should be having? Cool. And then it sets out rules. See, it sets out rules for the offer and acceptance and revocation thereof. What do you offer? How do you offer a contract? How the rules for offering a contract, the rules for accepting a contract, and the rules for revocation of contract. Okay, and it will also state the circumstances. Circumstances are what? Situations, right? So it'll tell you that in such situations, state the circumstances when the agreement is voidable or enforceable by only one party. We'll see what is. There can be a situation where the agreement is considered can only be enforceable by one party, and we'll also see where the agreements are void, not enforceable, and not enforced at all. So by now you must have understood that enforceable and enforceable. Enforceable means the ability to do that thing, no? Right or wrong? Whether you'll be able to do that or not. Enforce that means can you do that thing or not? So when we'll see where in which situations the contract, what is it said? Yeah, when the agreement itself, the agreement between you and me will be enforceable by only one party, and in which situations where the agreement between us will not be enforced only. Okay, so that is all that stuff that we're going to learn in this chapter. So by the end of the chapter, right? So you please come and see whether you've learned all of these things or not. Let's see what is a contract now. Okay, the whole thing, name of the subject of the chapter, Contract Act. What is a contract? The term contract is defined under the section 2H of the Indian Contract Act 1872. So under an act itself, under an act called Indian Contract Act 1872, this act defines contract as an agreement enforceable by law. So there are two components in this, right? In the definition of a contract, there is an agreement and there is a concept of this agreement being enforceable by law. So let us see what is this agreement and what is this enforceability of it. So what is this agreement? Check this out. The term agreement given in section 2E of the Act. So the Act also defines what is agreement now. So what is it agreement? Every promise and every set of promises forming the consideration for each other is an agreement. What is he saying? Every promise or every set of promises forming the consideration for each other. When I promise you something and you promise me something. So what are you getting? My promise. And what am I getting? Your promise, right? You promise to do that, I'll promise to do this. So what are we having? We are having promises in consideration, right? And when we are said to have promises in our considerations, we are said to be in an agreement. Yeah. So what is this promises being consideration for each other? When I promise you to do something and you promise to do something else on that behalf, then we are said to have then we're said to have considerations. Consideration means anything that I receive from you, and your consideration is anything that is received from you, right? So if promises are being consideration for each other, then we are said to be in an agreement. And what as this agreement has an insight to have an insight into the definition of agreement, we need to understand what promises. When two promises are consideration for each other and that is said to be in an agreement, what is a promise in the first place? So this act also defines what a promise is. When the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto, the proposal is said to be accepted. Proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. When the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto, the proposal is said to be accepted. Now let's consider two people here. I am the person who is offering you something, and assume Nida is the person to whom I'm offering something. Okay. Hey Nida, will you buy the 2 kgs of sugar that I have for 40 rupees? Right? So when the person when the person to whom the proposal is made, who is the person to whom the proposal is made here? What was the proposal for?
Me, sir.
Yeah, what was the proposal, Nida?
So you asking me to buy the product, sir?
What year?
Sugar. Product, sir.
Okay, product, cool. Right. So, yeah. So what is this about? Every promise, sorry, where are we? Yeah. When the person to whom the proposal, who's the person to whom the proposal is made? Nida.
Me, sir.
Okay. Yeah. And so Nida signifies his or her assent. What do you mean by assent? Willingness, no? Assent,
Yes,
you
sir.
have my assent means, yeah, I am willing to do. Right? You have my willingness. Right? When I ask my mom, can I go get pakoras or bhajis from outside? If she says yes, that means I am having her willingness to go get the pakoras or bhajis from outside, right? So it's assent. So I have her assent. I can say that I have her assent. Now when Nida signifies means telling, no? So when Nida is signifying or telling us her assent thereto, to what will be she telling her assent thereto? For some proposal that is already made, like the proposal that I made to Nida in this case, or the proposal that I made to my mom in case of the pakoras. Right. So when the person to whom the proposal is made signifies their assent to whatever the proposal is, that proposal is said to be accepted. Okay. And when the proposal is accepted, then it becomes a promise. So the same way when I proposed, she accepted, it became a promise. Then she'll also tell, right? How So here what happened when the person to whom the proposal is made, I made a proposal and she accepted. I made a proposal that will you buy 2 kgs of sugar? She accepted that, yeah, I'll buy that for 40 rupees or how much ever this rupees is. So proposal when accepted becomes a promise. And this promise, I'm giving you my promise and you're giving me my promise. This 2 promises for consideration. I give you sugar, you give me cash. These are 2 promises, right? So when these 2 promises become consideration for each other, it becomes an agreement. And an agreement, when enforceable by law, becomes contract. Right? As far as now, that is what we've seen. So what is this enforceability of law? But before that, did you guys understood what is agreement? To understand agreement, what is promise and how is promise made? What is an agreement? What is a promise? How is a promise? Yeah. So did we understand these 3 concepts as of now? These 3 names, but before that there is one more. These four things. Did you understand how these four things are there? Ask yourselves, think, realize. Yeah, this is both. It's not needed that you tell me what are all of this, but have you realized the fact that these are the four things that we've learned till now in whatever these 2 paras or 3 paras?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
I've got 2 yeses. Who's the third yes? Not kidding. Who's the third? Navya, you did not understand?
Sir, I understood. Sir.
You don't understand. Thanks, Navya. So, what is a contract, Navya? I'll help you out.
Sir, it is an agreement, sir.
Exactly.
It is an agreement enforceable by law.
Marvelous, Navya. Exactly. Contract is nothing but agreement which is enforceable by law. Lovely. We did not learn what is enforceable by law, but Bhavani, can you tell me what is an agreement?
Every promise and agreement is
Sorry, take it.
every promise and every set of promises forming the consideration for each other.
Lovely. You wrote it down also.
Yes, sir.
Nice, Bhavani. So yeah, right. So when it's like that is a statement. So technically, what is an agreement? When 2 promises are made are considered for each other, that is said to be an agreement. Every set of promises. What is that? What does the statement say? Yeah, what is the statement?
Every promise and every set of promises forming the consideration for each other.
Forming the consideration for each other.
Yes, sir.
Nice, no? Every set of promises forming the consideration for each other. When 2 promises form consideration for each other, that is said to be an agreement. And neither obviously, what is a promise now?
The promise of making an agreement between them that they will share their products, so that you will give me cash. That's all. So
Yeah,
it's basically a proposal of buying the product to a customer, selling the product to a customer.
Okay. Okay. Selling the product to the customer is what you're telling? A promise is?
And
Promise to sell
getting
the
cash
product to the customer.
in return.
Yeah, exactly. That is, you're getting cash in return if you sell something.
Yes, sir.
Right? So you promise to get that cash, you promise to give this product and you get that cash as the other promise. That is an agreement. What is a promise? So whenever any proposal is accepted, right, that is a promise.
Yes,
So
sir.
here 2 situations are there, right? You said you were selling and you're getting cash, right?
Yes, sir.
So I was the person who's buying that stuff. Okay. What did you promise me?
I promise you that I give you my product, sir.
You promised me that you would give me your product. So you must have proposed me, right? Will you take my product for cash?
Yes, sir.
Then if I accept, then you like it's a promise, no? Or
Yes, sir.
yeah, right. When I accept that proposal, then it is a promise now.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
The same way I would also, and yeah, so then I would also ask, right? So there is your promise that you would sell me the product, and then there is my promise that okay, will you give me your pen if I give you this cash? So I proposed you something, right? So if you accept, then that is a promise. So you are promising me something, and I am promising you something. You are promising me that you will give me the cash, and I am promising you that if you give me cash, I'll give you the sorry. If I give you the cash, you
Yeah.
give me the pen. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
and you give me the pen, I give you the cash. So there is your promise for as my consideration of getting the pen, and there is my promise for giving you cash as your consideration. So when 2 promises, so when a proposal is accepted, then a promise is made, right? And when 2 promises form consideration for each other, that is said to be an agreement, right? And an agreement, when enforceable by law, is said to be a contract. So we've understood how agreement is made, the first part of the contract. Whenever there is two promises for each other, that is an agreement. Let's go pani puri. Let's go eat pani puri. Yes or no? Yes or
Yes,
no?
sir.
Yes. So that's an agreement, right? Yeah. Let's go eat pani puri. Yes, go. Right? So that's an agreement. When two promises with consideration to each other, that means you have the promise to go and eat pani puri. You can't go there and now fight for chaat or something, right? Or for Domino's pizza or something, right? You promise, I promise, both of us promise. It's an agreement between us that let's go and eat pani puri, right? Or let's have a race, an agreement between us, right? But if I win the race, if I reach first, I win the race. You reach first, you win the race. I promise to accept that you reach first. So whatever is the promise, when two promises are forming, it is a constitution. When two promises are forming constitution for each other, what do we see that thing? What do we see that thing? Solida, what do you say that? When two promises form consideration for each other.
Agreement.
Agreement. Nice. So what is this enforceability of law? The following points emerge from the above definition when the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent on that proposal which is made to him. The proposal becomes accepted. Accepted proposal becomes promise. Thus we say that an agreement is a result. An agreement is the result of the proposal made by one party to the other party, and that other party gives his acceptance thereto, of course, for mutual consideration. Right? So when a proposal is made to the other party and the other party gives their agreement or assent thereto for some consideration, then this is said to be an agreement. Offer or proposal plus acceptance with mutual consideration. Again, offer or acceptance. Do you want to buy this phone? Yes. How much is it? 20,000? No. How much would you give? 15,000. Okay. So I'm proposing you something. You are proposing me something. Right? I'm proposing you the phone. You want the phone? Yes. You're proposing me the rate. I'm saying no. Right? So two proposals have to be accepted. What is the thing? How much is it for? As simple as that. So these two things are in turn the consideration for each other. So this is an agreement that if you agree to buy the phone, I'll give you the phone and you give me the amount that we've agreed to. Right? So agreement is nothing but offer or the proposal with the acceptance. If the offer is accepted, then there is an agreement. Cool? So what is this enforceability of law come from? An agreement to become a contract must give rise to legal obligation, which means a duty enforceable by law. So the whole thing is this part. An agreement to become a contract must give rise to legal obligation. What is legal obligation? Legal obligation is putting a legal person responsible to solve this case. Right? What is not legal obligation? My mom giving me food is not legal obligation. Right? My mom not buying me a new bike is not a legal obligation. As simple as that. What is an obligation? That's something that we have to do, right? Right. A duty that we have to do, an obligation. It's my obligation to teach you the complete syllabus. Right? So obligation is something that we need to do to the other person. Now, must give rise to a legal obligation is saying that when I ask my mom to buy me a bike and she does not buy me a bike, I can't ask the Indian court, the Supreme Court or the High Court or District Court to come and solve this case. My mom said she will buy me a bike and she did not buy me a bike. I'm filing a case on her. Right? So, first thing, can I file a case on her is the first question. Right? But imagine if I go to the dealer of that bike, I pay him in advance and he doesn't sell me the bike. Now can I go to the court and say that this guy is not selling me the bike, punish him?
Yes, sir.
Can I file a case on him?
Yes, sir.
Right? Why is filing the case on the dealer Okay. And why is filing a case on my mom not okay?
Because it's not legal, sir.
It's not about being legal. It's about just that I and dealer have a legal obligation. Right? We came under a contract. Me and my mom did not come under a contract. That's the only thing. Right? And I'm giving the advance to the dealer of that Suzuki. Like you might see, right? Mango Suzuki, whoever is the Lakshmi Hyundai, that Hyundai, this Audi, that Audi, different names of the dealers, right? So if I go to the dealer guy, pay him advance, and I ask him to sell me that car, and now he does not sell me that car after taking advance, or whatever the agreement was to, then I can file a case on him. And how can I file a case on him? Before even giving the advance or at the time of giving an advance, we both came into an agreement which gave us legal obligations to complete our part. And if we don't complete our part, here the legal obligation will come arise. So here the court, who will handle the legal matters of any country? The courts of that country, right?
Yes,
So the court will come into the picture. We have created a legal obligation on each other. Now, if you don't fulfill your promise, I'm going to get the court in this. And if I'm not going to fulfill the promise, you can get the court inside this. But, right, we have to be with an intention to create that legal relationship. Right? I and my mom did not have an intention to create a legal relationship. No, I'll get the contract papers, you sign me that contract papers, and then only I'll believe that you'll buy me a bike or a car. Right? So that we did not have an intention to create a legal relationship. So there is no legal obligation on both of us that she has to give me that bike. Right? But here there is a legal obligation because we've come into a contract that we have because we had an intention to hold you responsible. He's saying that, sir, if I don't sell the bike, come and ask to my owner. Then who is he holding responsible? The owner, no? I am holding the responsible the court only. If I do everything properly, you have to sell me the bike. And if you don't sell me a bike, you have a legal obligation to do that. And because you do not fulfill your obligation, the court can take an action and resolve this case. Got it? Enforceability of law means. So an agreement to become a contract must give rise to legal obligation. And the existence of these legal obligations will enforce an agreement into a contract. That means this agreement is now enforceable by law. That means if you do not now fail to do this, the law can take its action or the law can take its course. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Agreement enforceable by law is a contract. What is an agreement? Any promise that you make me do and I make me do, be it big, be it small. Agreement is just two promises for each other. I'll call my mama and I'll ask, Mama, I want a car. Like, okay, I'll get you. Right? Promise, promise. This is an agreement between me and my mama, right? But there is no legal obligation on my mama to get me a car, nor I can file a case against him if he does not get me a car. Right? But the same thing if it happens under a legal obligation. Assume the house property is being divided into the members of the family, and I get that car which is in his name. Now, if he does not give me that car, then I can file a case against him. Yes or no? So it's all about that intention only. So are we coming into this agreement to create a legal relationship? Yes. And if yes, then that is a contract. If you're coming into an agreement with no legal relationship, then it's just an agreement, not a contract. Clear?
So,
As to what an agreement is, as to what a promise is, as to how this thing arrived, why do we need this thing? At the end of the day, it is to get solution. If you don't do the stuff that you promised to do, then the court can take its action. Cool?
yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Nida,
Yes, sir.
can you read agreement or can you read the agreement part of every part? And
Yes, sir.
Navya, you there?
Yes, sir.
Can you read the contract point?
Yes, sir.
Right? So Bhavani, you and me, let's just listen what are they talking. Okay. Yeah. See, you're supposed to tell in this way. the difference between agreement and contract on the basis of meaning. The difference on the basis of meaning is what you're telling, right? So both of you have to tell each and every time. The difference between agreement and contract on the basis of meaning is this with agreement and this with contract. Understood?
Yes,
So Nida should say with the whole thing with agreement. Like, now we
Okay,
should
sir.
do the whole thing with the contract parallelly. Okay, start.
So the basic difference between agreement and contract is the basic meaning of agreement is every promise and every set of promises forming the consideration for each other, offer plus agreement, acceptance.
Yeah, the difference between agreement and contract on the basis of meaning. 2 points. The difference between agreement and contract on what basis? On the basis of meaning is this with contract. Start.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
can
Nanda.
hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
The difference between agreement and contract on the basis of meaning is agreement enforceable by law, agreement plus legal enforceability.
So on the basis of meaning is agreement is not that every set of promises forming consideration for each other. So for an agreement to take place, only offer plus acceptance needs to take place. Only offer and acceptance is there, agreement will be formed. Right? But for a contract to take place along with agreement, there is legal enforcement. That is the difference between these two on the basis of meaning. Here agreement is arising, and in contract along with agreement there needs to be an enforceability of law. Scope. Yeah, next one.
The difference between agreement and contract on the basis of its scope is it is a wider term included both legal and social agreement.
It is a wider term, including both legal agreements and social agreements.
Social
Yeah.
agreement.
The difference between agreement and contract on the basis of scope is it is used in a narrow sense with the specification that contract is only legally enforceable agreement.
Yeah. So you understood what scope means? Any of you play PUBG? Any three of you?
No,
Any
sir.
one of you? Bhavani, no?
No, sir.
Navya, no?
Yes, sir.
You,
Few days before.
you've ever heard of this term called scope in PUBG?
Yes.
Yes, sir. The
Yes, sir.
zooming,
Bhavani and Nida, do you know what scope means?
the zooming thing, sir.
Yeah, scope is technically the reach. Okay? Reach. Like, so reach means, reach is, assume I stay in Vishakhapatnam, okay? Now in Vishakhapatnam there is a beach. So I stay nearby beach. So in case tsunami comes, how far is the scope of destruction for a basic tsunami? So how far can it reach? So what is the scope of the tsunami? Or what is the scope of the gun? How far it can shoot? What is the reach that it has? Right? So what is it in what all area does it include? Right? The same as scope with agreement or contract means what are all the things it includes in it. Social agreements, yes, they're in the scope of agreement, but not in the scope of contract. So what are social agreements? The one that I made with my mom and my mama, no? Right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
Social
Yes.
agreements. So social agreements are within the scope of agreements, but are not within the scope of contracts. Next.
The difference between agreement and contract on the basis of legal obligation is it may not create legal obligation. An agreement does not allow grant rights to the parties.
It may not create legal obligation. Yes.
Yes, sir.
An agreement does not always grant rights to the parties. Did I have a right to ask my mama the car or my mom the bike?
No, sir.
No, right? I only had requested or begged technically. Requested. Hey, I want a bike or I want a car or something. So there's no right that is created in an agreement. and definitely not a legal obligation, right? What's up with contract?
Yes, sir.
The difference between agreement and contract on the basis of legal obligation is necessarily creates a legal obligation. A contract always grants certain rights to every party.
So contract necessarily creates a legal obligation. It is the necessity of the contract to create a legal obligation to make this agreement into a contract. No. So that's why it is a necessary to create a legal obligation. So contract must create a legal obligation. Else it is not a contract only. Right? So a contract always grants certain rights to every party. So if those rights are violated, we go to the court. No. So for someone to come to the court or for someone to use this act, something has to go wrong. And if that goes wrong, how can something go wrong? Like this, depending on your rights and duties. So if your duties are violated, if your rights are violated, then you can go to the court. If your duties are not enforced, then you can go to the court, right? So the option of going to the court or not is a legal obligation. We might be doing business in 10 lakhs and 10 lakhs also. Imagine you giving me 10 lakhs saying that I'll give you some chocolates that you can sell or something, right? And I take this money and I take this money and there's no contract between us. We just, yeah, I teach you law. Yeah, it's okay, cool. So you know me. So you gave me the 10 lakhs and I went off. Is there any legal obligation? There is an agreement though, right? That you give me 10 lakhs, I give you chocolates to sell. But because there is no legal obligation, there is no need for me to sell you give you the chocolates. Under the contract act, I can't, you need not do anything. But under the criminal act, they'll kick me, no? So the contract act is telling that if you're not in an agreement, don't come to my house for settlement. Go to criminal act, right? Is there a contract? No, you can't fight on the basis of contract only because you guys do not come into contract only. Yeah, it is the wrong thing. We can do that. We can teach him or we can solve this issue as per the criminal act issue that you tried robbing them or cheating them or something like that, right? But there is no solution under the contract act. Correct. Next, last one.
The difference between agreement and contract on the basis of nature is all agreement are not contracts.
But
That's it, sir.
yeah, yours. Now yours.
The difference between agreement and contract on the basis of nature is all contracts are agreements.
Do you guys agree with this? Are all contracts agreements?
No, sir.
Are all contracts agreements?
Yes, sir.
Someone said no. I want to give fuel to that. No. Are all contracts agreements? What if I tell you this? There was a printing mistake by ICA.
No, sir. All contracts are agreements only, sir. Agreement is just making a promise.
All contracts.
Sorry?
Sir, agreement is just making a promise. Sir.
Yeah.
So all contracts can be agreements, but when it
All
comes
agreements
to
are not contracts, sir.
All
because
contracts are
it does
agreements.
not have any legal agreements.
Yeah. Because there are agreements without legal obligations, no? There might be an agreement without legal obligation. As simple as that. Right? Like an obligation between me and my friend to get snacks in the evening. Right? It's an obligation without legal tender, right? So this is an obligation without legality. So this is an agreement that you get snacks, I get lunch. Right? So this is an agreement without legal obligation, but there is an obligation. So definitely there might be so many agreements that will not be considered as contracts. But once an agreement is considered as a contract, it is agreement forever, right? Without agreement being there, a contract cannot arise. So all contracts are definitely agreement, and all agreements are not contracts. Clear, all of you?
Yes, sir.